Bases dropped on a Wall Pass Wednesday here at Soccer Down here. And John here, Jarrett there, and hopefully Nick Alifi will be joining us in just a little bit for hour number one. Dylan Butler slated as always for his visit on Wall Pass Wednesday at 10 o'clock. Bart Keeler, if he has any voice left from the SoccerForUS pod, he'll be joining us at 10:30. To break down what he thought about yesterday, and now that he's had time to digest it, and we'll make sure that you get all your jokes ready, because I'm sure that we haven't heard any of them when it comes to the physical state of Christian Pulisic. So go ahead and just get them out. Just make sure that you have them in the queue when we get to that point. But along those same lines, to a certain degree, time for the opening kickoff, brought to us by our friends at Kickoff Coffee. There's your QR code. KickoffCoffeeCO.com, Kickoff Coffee CO on Facebook, on Twitter, and on Instagram. Don't forget to use the code Soccer Down Here 15, and thank you to everybody who has already. You get 15% off your purchases when it comes to Kickoff Coffee, and then they in turn take 10% and they reinvest it into the youth game. Very, very cool stuff from our friends at Kickoff Coffee. KickoffCoffeeCO.com. Sean Vergara is on the beach. And so he's not playing golf this early in the morning, but he's on the beach, and he's got another couple days in Puerto Rico. So opening kickoff this morning. And I couldn't resist this. Jarrett, as you and I and Nick are married individuals. There's that scene in When Harry Met Sally, when Bruno Kirby and Carrie Fisher, they are deep in their relationship, and they turn to each other, and it's said that don't make sure that I'm paraphrasing, that I don't ever have to go through this again. So along those lines, thankfully we don't have to subject ourselves to things like this. But I came across this morning, and it's from our friends at Bumble. And Bumble, in the spirit of,
I'm not prepared for what's about to happen. I just need you to know now I'm not. Ugh.
Yeah.
Okay, whatever.
So it has to do with the international competition that is going on. And by the way, we'll get into previewing the games at 10 and 2 Eastern time coming up in just a little bit. Bumble has some suggestions for having conversation starters with an individual that you may want to have deeper conversations with over time. This is a list that they have submitted. It says, kick off your convo in time for match day with these soccer-themed opening lines. And there are 6 of them. So here we go. Number 1. Is soccer called the beautiful game because you play it? Number 2. If you were a soccer player, I'd be your biggest fan. I pretty much botched that one. Number 3. Are you the offside rule? Because I feel like I should know you better. Number 4, I'm not great at soccer, but I know how to score. Number 5, when the soccer's on, where can I usually find you? And number 6, good luck and have a ball. Since I'm happily married, I don't have to do anything like that. So I look at those soccer pickup lines suggested by Bumble, and I sit there and go, dude, what are you thinking?
You see, I was in a long-term relationship and then married, so I dodged a lot of the modern dating world. I'm good with that because I probably would have died by now. Man, I can't.
I know.
I'm done. Whatever. It's 9:10 and I'm done.
Yeah.
Whatever. I don't care anymore. I'm gonna go stare at a computer or something. I don't know, man. I'm gonna go take a long walk in the rain. We're gonna Hemingway this thing up.
Yeah.
I'm done.
Yeah. So, as someone who is happily married, I would sit there and say, Bumble, you really got a lot of work to do, because those 6 were nowhere close. Nowhere close.
Let's talk about Christian Pulisic's abdominal quote, sick, quote unquote.
Yes.
And the fact that Christian Pulisic is still alive.
Yes. It was listed as a pelvic contusion. Yeah.
Yep.
I feel like Eli Drake. Yeah.
Well, here's the thing, man. Christian Pulisic remembered vividly Clint Dempsey basically like hip checking Shakira-ing the ball into the net against Portugal in 2014 and was like, I can do better than that.
Mm-hmm.
So he did.
Yeah.
We detoxed after the game. I don't need that kind of stress in my life.
No.
You idiots.
Yeah, no.
So, I don't know.
Oh, man.
Maybe don't put that kind of stress in our life. You idiots.
Yeah, exactly. Pelvic contusion. That's probably one of the most polite ways to explain what happened to Christian Pulisic that I've ever heard. Even outside of what happened with Christian Pulisic, that's one of the most polite ways to describe what happened to Christian Pulisic. Yeah. I imagine at halftime, he went inside the locker room and threw up like nobody's business.
Oh, my God. Like, the fact that him laying on the ground, when he's laying on the ground after he scores the goal, that's the first thing in my mind, like, oh, he got hit below the waist.
Uh-huh.
That's the look of a man who's laying down to, like, just try and catch his breath.
Uh-huh.
Because he just had his manhood obliterated in some way, shape, or form. Like,
he had his pelvis.
Like, did his knee get hit? I'm like, nah, I think his knee might have gotten hit, but he's not thinking about his knee right now. That just knocked the air out of him in a way that is really tough to deal with.
Yeah.
So, poor Christian, man. Feel bad for the dude.
Yeah, and when he posted on social media his joy from the hospital, I'm hoping that he had been given some decent medication.
Buddy, I hope so.
I mean, considering the response that he gave on social media that included a word that had to be blurred out, I'm hoping he got the good stuff. But he was at the hotel for the team when the team was making their procession, through the lobby and with the fans and everything. So, and he was standing upright, which I was somewhat surprised at. But there were millions of men around the world that once they saw that replay, which was shown over and over and over and over again. Since you couldn't see Christian Pulisic playing, you got the replay of a pelvic contusion over and over and over and over again. Not that folks around the world weren't in a great deal of pain in the first place when they saw it live and understood what happened. But, yeah, let's just show it again. Let's show it again. And hey, let's show it again. Here's what happened to Christian Pulisic. It's like the Saturday Night Live sketch with Eddie Murphy. The death of Buckwheat. Doctor, did you see how Buckwheat was shot? No, I didn't. Well, let's show you. I mean, that's what it reminded me of. It's just you're seeing it over and over and over and over again. Come on. You want a come on, man, for Monday Night Football? That's a come on, man, for Monday Night Football. Stop showing a pelvic contusion in slow motion. The male population got it. I know you want to show Christian Pulisic on your airwaves network of choice, or one that paid a boatload of money to make sure that you were the network of choice. But I only need to see it once in real time and once in slow motion, and I'm done.
Hey, he's fine. Christian survived. He's fine. Good for him, though.
Yeah. I mean,
hey, you know what, though? Hey, it's worth it because he got the U.S. out of the group stage, which is the bare minimum of what we expect out of this team, out of the national team in general. We expect you to get out of the group stage, especially when you get a draw like that. Like, look, it's no disrespect to Iran. Iran's a good team, really good team.
Absolutely.
They know, and more importantly, they know what they are.
Mm-hmm.
They don't try and pretend there's something they're not. But that being said, like, you had an England team that is inconsistent.
Mm-hmm.
They boat raced Iran when Iran mixed up their lineup. Also, their starting goalkeeper got concussed, and they didn't play their starting defensive midfielder in the first half of that game. They looked better when he was back in.
Mm-hmm.
But they also, you also had Wales in that group that's Again, the U.S. should have buried Wales in the first half and didn't, and paid the price for it.
Mm-hmm.
You got a good group. Again, as I said yesterday, never apologize for an easy group. That's not your responsibility.
No.
Don't do this American thing where we have to pretend where we have to feel like we have to suffer for it to matter. No. You don't have to suffer. Don't do that crap where you thinking, okay, well, we're Team America. We have to do things the hard way because that's just how we are. No. We're not doing that crap.
No.
Hey, don't take the door that has spikes and crap all over it. Take the door that has cotton and bunnies and marshmallows on it. Don't make your life more difficult than it needs to be.
You don't.
You did it in the first place because you were in a situation where you had to beat Iran.
Yeah.
And look, some of that also comes down to the fact you should have done much better against Wales. You played England really well. The English are pissed off, not necessarily at you, but on principle, which I think the English are always pissed off. Let's go to Jess for that one.
Yeah, that's Atlanta Soccer tonight on another channel.
Yeah, Jess was Jess after that game, she was just like, "What are we doing?"
Waiting for the 7-minute rant for Jess's version of what are we doing.
Yeah. Be better than 12 and tell. But don't apologize for having an easy path. You got through it. Now comes the challenge. Also, I said this yesterday. Hey, who wants to imagine how fun this crap would be if you got to play this next matchup with Frank de Boer still managing the Dutch?
Oh man.
Because the Dutch under Frank de Boer kind of had a little Tata Martino in them.
Yeah.
By that I mean they weren't playing as terribly as their record indicated. More so, they couldn't score.
Yeah.
Basically, they were creating a ton of chances and were physically incapable of putting the ball in the net, almost to a hilarious degree.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And by the way, that we've got in the Twitch pitch, we've got a lot better lines than our friends at Bumble. And we also have some discussions about the pelvic contusion. So
go ahead.
No. Here's your early round. Nix was correct to a certain extent that I was just trying to distract from the CP10 injury with the opening salvo. Sean Vergara, the modern dating world is like everyone inside the 18 on a corner. I'm glad I'm not a part of it. Well done. Sean discussing CP10. He didn't get hit. He got assaulted. Michael Head wondering, is Pulisic now a eunuch? The OG won't be starting a family anytime soon. And Michael, I think it's going to take you sure hope that he can play on Saturday. He'll play on Saturday. No question. I mean, they will do whatever they need to do, and Christian Pulisic will do whatever he needs to do to be able to play on Saturday. And, yeah, Coco, absolutely they were. They were absolutely merciless in showing that knee. Rights holder over and over again.
Man, and I promise you, as someone who's been in a truck or in a broadcast situation like that before, man, I promise you all the cameramen are talking about it too. All the people in the replay booth or in the not necessarily in the replay booth, but in the truck are talking about it too. Your director, your people running replay, your people running audio, they're all talking about it as it's happening.
Mm-hmm.
Because you're just sitting there going, wow, I got the kids obliterated there.
Yes.
It's a tough way to live your life, man.
Mm-hmm. And Jason Nix put a link into the 4-letter. The Christian Pulisic goal was recreated in Lego form. And so,
I mean, did they just rip the legs off the Lego man? Is that what happens here?
He got basically cut in half.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Yeah, at the impact, he was sheared in half, and you see both halves of Lego CP10 going into the net in different corners.
Yeah, absolutely.
So there's that, and the link is in the Twitch pitch for anybody that wants to see it. And Sean, obviously, with the question of the day, asking for a friend, how does a contusion get healed on that body part?
Hi, former catcher here.
Thank you.
It takes a long time, and it's uncomfortable the entire time.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. No further questions, Your Honor.
Yes.
Everything hurts, and you want to die.
Yes, pretty much.
I don't know what else you want from that conversation.
Rack says that he should get the civilian equivalent of the Purple Heart.
I mean, cool. Go for it, y'all.
Whatever that is. Yeah, OG says it made me wince, and I'm not even a man. Burn.
Everything about it is comfortable.
The real question is, why is Pulisic the only player on this team who makes actual striker runs? If this were a Josie Altidore-sized player, at least the goalie takes some punishment as well, which leads to the larger question, Burn, about strikers.
Why do the U.S. strikers not do their job consistently? Man, I don't know. Good question. We've been trying to figure that out for a while.
Yeah,
why we don't even know why Greg brought the strikers he brought.
Since they seem to be striking out.
Oh my God. Go home.
I am home.
Please.
I'm in the office.
Where's Nick? I need Nick.
The OG did say it is Nutcracker season. And all these one-liners. Y'all have had your cups of coffee this morning. I'll say that. Knicks. And Ron Keeper said he got all ball. Yeah. Rack. Back to the sport. Lack of production from the striker position will haunt us eventually, but I'll take the win.
It's funny because if it wasn't for Gakpo, absolutely tearing things up for the Dutch in the last round in the group stages, the Dutch are in a similar situation.
Yeah,
they cannot get out. They have not been able to get out of their own way with strikers for a while now. They're working on that too.
Yeah,
that's been part of their problem.
Yes. Rack, I will say that I think Sargent did exactly what he was asked to do, played with his back to net all day per the usual.
Yeah, Sargent put in a lot of yeoman's work, but Wright needs to be better than what he's been. You got a lot of guys on that team that need to be better, man. Don't know, how that looks, but especially with the strikers, you got a bunch of guys that need to be better. So. Yeah, I mean it's I don't know how else to call it. You need better productivity out of your strikers, and you're not getting it right now.
Yes.
Wright had a couple of runs where I was like, okay, that's not bad. Where he gets the hold up play on the left hand side late in the game. Good job, man. But otherwise, just wasn't really impressed with a lot of it. At this point, why not play Ferreira? No one else is necessarily earning the moment.
Yeah.
Why not go with the kid? See what he's got. Everyone else kind of isn't doing the job right now.
More than kinda, but yeah.
I'm trying to be nice.
Just because you
but
made
they're not doing the job right now. So play the damn kid.
Yeah. Rack on Sargent not getting something on that 3v1 was a bummer, no doubt. And Emilio on topic number one, yes, it totally would stink to have to date today. Let's see. And Sean, obviously, with the question, I need to know why Reyna hasn't played. I mean, you can sit there and this has been a point that we have been discussing for the group stage. If Reyna is not healthy and can give you maybe 10 minutes on a run-in or something like that, cool. But it's nobody's business outside of the U.S. camp why Reyna, if it has something to do with his health, especially now that you're in the knockout stages, you don't give the Dutch anything less to practice for.
You don't, but you've also complicated things for yourself when you have your manager come out and say it was a minor injury, and then Reyna comes out and says, "No, man, I'm good to go. I'm fine. I feel good."
Yeah.
it's been complicated by the mixed signals you've gotten from it. At least
True.
that's my view on it. Like it's been unnecessarily complicated. For me, it simply has come down to in the last few games, Tim Weah is playing too damn good right now.
Yeah.
Weah, even he's got to go. He got to go in the first game, but he's done all of the dirty work and done the little things right. Where I think it's hard to take Tim Weah off the field right now.
No question.
It's tough to deal with.
No, I think you're spot on. You can't.
But I mean, you want to find room for Reyna. I'm not saying you don't.
Yeah.
But I think some of that is, at least for me, is that Tim Weah is out there doing damn work.
Yep. 2 matches at 10 o'clock. Tunisia and France is one of them. The French have released their lineup. And it is Mandanda in net, back 4, Camavinga, Konate, Varane wearing the captain's armband, and Disasi. Middle 3, Bertu, Chouameni, and Wesley Fofana, Kingsley Coman, Kolomwani, and Guendouzi.
Remember when Kingsley Coman was supposed to be the next big thing?
Yeah.
Like at the Euros in 2016, I think it was.
Yeah. Yeah. And then
Kingsley Coman was supposed to be it.
Yeah. And he has not.
Just wasn't.
And he's not. Yeah. So you're even Stevens in all of this. And to add to the morning madness, we welcome Nick Alifi.
Woo! What's happening?
So the first half, the first half hour has been complaining about the lack of striking from the striker position for the U.S. men's national team.
Okay.
We have gentlemen who have been in the timeline getting in their best one-liners about the pelvic contusion.
Hey.
Exactly.
Caught for a decade. Here to tell you, those don't heal overnight. They hurt. They bug you. Now, adrenaline can be your best friend. That can get you through the madness. Drugs can also be your best friend to get you through it. But yeah, it's gonna hurt for a while, and it's one of those injuries. It's like if you ever we see this in basketball. Actually, let's bring this back to basketball. We see this in basketball. If you see someone on a basketball court laying there, and the trainer comes out and they're just stretching, like extending and contracting their leg and stretching it out, he probably got hit below the waist, and there's nothing you can do for that. You don't want to be touched. You just want to throw up.
Yes.
You just want to have someone to take your mind off of it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Go ahead. The goals are going to be the issue with the striker position. I get it. I do. Yes. And good morning, Sean. How you doing? Hello, everyone.
Rock. I don't know if soccer players wear a cup, but I can tell you that a cup doesn't protect you from pain and suffering.
No, it does
just
not.
Protects you from catastrophic injury.
No, it does not. It does not.
That's pretty much it. Like it is there to protect you from catastrophic, like hospital injury. It does not stop pain.
Look. Here's the thing. They're going to have to. U.S. men's national team's got to figure out the striker position, right? And I at this point, I think we should probably just address the fact that this might not be the tournament where it gets solved.
No.
You're going to have, unless there's some kind of lightning bolt from above or an asteroid hits Qatar or, like a beams of light from Jesus or something. I don't know, but
that would be amazing.
One way or the other, I think this tournament is not where we're going to figure out the striker position for the U.S. men's national team. It's just we're rolling with what we have. It is what it is. All you can do is just buckle up and enjoy the roller coaster ride at this point. So it's I understand the frustration though. Let me go ahead and say that. So for anyone who says, Nick, you have no idea what you're talking about. Look, I completely understand the frustration, but there's really nothing you could do with it at this point.
Well, and looking at other names, Michael Head was wondering about Daryl Dike. Is he hurt or just lost?
He's dead, I think.
Injuries.
He doesn't exist anymore. Just like Jordan Pefok, just like Ricardo Pepi. Just like many strikers from the past, I think he just doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah, Rack, DK got buried in the dirt with Pepe, which is true. Sean, who, by the way, Nick, is visiting from Puerto Rico.
Hey.
Playing golf and hanging out on the beach for another couple of days. Sean's asking, do you think Clint Dempsey could still score some goals?
Clint would do it and would tell everyone about it on the field.
Yeah, he would cut a remix rap track after he scored his first goal coming back from retirement.
Absolutely.
This is a man who once ripped up the referee's book in front of him.
Rack honestly would take Dempsey over most, if not all, the strikers that he's seen on the field. Burned has a strong suspicion that most informed U.S. striker was watching these games from a bar in Atlanta or perhaps Cincinnati, i.e. Brandon Vasquez.
Yeah. I can't disagree with that. Chemistry, I think bringing Vasquez in late in the process you would have to figure out some of the chemistry issues up top. But yeah.
And how much then let me ask you guys this, playing devil's advocate here. So what about the notion of, okay, he hasn't had a lot of international experience and you're bringing him into the most international environment ever for someone who's got the big 0 that's attached to his caps number?
Well, there's the such thing as, being too young and stupid to be scared, right? So Orson Welles, when Orson Welles made Citizen Kane, right, which is generally considered one of the best movies ever made, he was a very, very young man. I want to say he was like 30 or something like that. And so everyone said, how did you make this movie, this masterpiece at your age? He says, I was simply too stupid to be scared.
Yeah.
I just did it. And I think that's something where if you have someone who's completely untested, they're either going to sink or they're going to swim. And in this case, the decision was made that we're going to remove that situation entirely from the table. I don't know if it was the wisest decision, but yeah, I can't, I'm just throwing that out there. Citizen Kane is not terrible. It is an amazing movie.
Wow.
Do I think it's the best movie of all time? No, but I think it's an amazing movie.
Wow.
Got some takes getting fired off today, folks.
God, the initial scene where the dolly shot where it goes all the way from young Kane outside on his sled all the way inside where the mom, dad, and the bank representative are sitting, and it's all completely in focus. Alone should make that one of the best films of all time.
Wow.
I think zounds, sir.
Wow.
Sounds. And to your point about chemistry, the thing that really still pisses me off with Vasquez is you can talk to me about chemistry all you want. I wanted him here. I don't care about chemistry because I wanted him here for a game where, hey, for what it's worth, the same reason you took Julian Green in 2014. I need somebody who can poach with 10 minutes left, who can make something happen. Ball falls to him in the box. I just need I need somebody who, if we're having to throw stuff against the wall, that he is going to stick to said wall. And Brandon Vasquez has been that guy this year. He doesn't have to start and play 90 minutes, but I want something on the bench to say, we got to just throw it against the wall. We got to put 3 strikers on the field. If we give up a goal going the other way, whatever, we're either going to lose 2-0 or take this to extra time. I want someone like him to throw against the wall.
Yeah, and I completely agree with that. I mean, to have someone come off the bench who you can essentially say, look, son, your job is not to go out and connect 1,800 passes in the next 3 minutes of stoppage time. Your job is to go out and put the damn ball in the back of the net. The end. Mm-hmm. Nothing more, nothing less. Ball comes to foot, ball goes in the back of the net. The end. So it's a choice. And at the end of this tournament, no matter how far the U.S. goes, barring, lifting a trophy, Greg's going to have questions.
Oh, yeah.
Greg, why didn't you bring this player? Greg, why didn't you bring that player? Greg, in this particular situation, this Vasquez would have been perfect. Why didn't you bring him along? And Greg's going to have to sit there and be like, I made the choice, satisfied with the choice. Things just didn't go our way. Stock answer. But, and regarding, a 25-year-old Josie Altidore with this lineup.
Jesus.
Yeah.
Josie Altidore from the 2009 Confederations Cup would have feasted with this team, man.
Yeah, he would have. But that's the nature of the international game, where you really are. You may have a singular talent who just didn't come along. The misfortune of being born at the wrong time. So, that's why we use the term golden generation, because sometimes it all clicks and sometimes it doesn't. But it's there will be questions either way for Greg at the end of this. But right now, last night, you made the knockout round. And 4 years ago, if someone had said, hey, look, 4 years in the future, in the Bribery Cup, if you're going to be in the knockout round against the Netherlands, how do you feel about that?
Pettiness is beautiful, America.
Oh, I'm telling you, wonderful. But I think every U.S. men's national team fan would be like, yep, I'll take that. I'll take that knockout round against the Dutch. You may not have a great striker. Don't care. Are we in the knockout rounds? Yep. Okay, you went from not qualifying to being in the knockout rounds against the Netherlands.
Hey, Germany might not make the knockout rounds, y'all.
Yeah.
So we're clear.
Look, my favorite team is sitting at home right now watching Nona make pasta. So I got, all I can do is sit there and be envious. If they would give us some pasta, I would take some pasta. Yeah,
But like real pasta, we ain't going to Olive Garden.
Yeah,
no.
And if you ask any Italy fan, say, hey, look, guys, to get to the knockout rounds against Netherlands, the answer is automatically going to be yes. Because, what happened in 2010? Group stage exit. What happened in Brazil? Group stage exit. What happened in, the Euros? We had our moment of, brilliance and beauty, thanks to Chiellini yanking English players down to the ground, which I thought was just delightful. But we paid for it by missing the World Cup. It is what it is. So
it was kind of worth it, though. From a neutral perspective, like y'all sacrificed your World Cup to punish the English a little bit more, and for those of us that get a kick out of seeing the English be sad, it was kind of like Iron Man grabbing the gauntlet.
There we go, and that's the thing. We'll take the hit. We took the hit. So that way it didn't go home. Instead, it went to Rome. And, we would be thrilled, though, to be playing against the Netherlands. I think U.S. men's national team fans should just be, go from not qualifying to having the luxury of being able to complain about striker options in your knockout game. That's a winnable knockout game. I don't go to the church of Virgil van Dijk. I don't go to the church of Dutch supremacy. So I think this is a very winnable game for the U.S. men's national team. And to have the luxury of sitting back and saying, Gio's not starting, we're big mad. We don't have a striker, we're big mad. Baby, you guys are wearing Rolexes, all right? So it's a beautiful gripe to have. I just hope people understand the luxury that you guys are sitting with at the moment.
I understand it. I'm also of the opinion that you're here, you might as well wreck shop while you're here.
Yeah.
Whether or not they're able to do that remains to be seen. We were talking before you came on, Nick, about Gakpo wrecking shop for the Dutch. And as nervous as I am for that, I can tell you he hasn't seen a Tyler Adams yet, because my God, Tyler Adams.
He was okay yesterday. Tyler Adams has got some big, great equalizer energy about him, and I appreciate it. Mm-hmm. And there's a reason that the man was given an armband, and you're seeing that right now at this tournament. Byrne discussing Germany. They don't have a great striker now either, but at least they brought their most informed guy, Fulkrug, and it's worked so far. Brandon Vasquez should have been there instead of Haji Wright.
Yeah. If I wanted a big body striker, I'd rather take I know the anti-MLS brigade will fire up their torches and pitchforks, but I would rather have taken Brandon Vasquez if I'm looking for that big-bodied, informed striker who can play with his back to goal or poach. I'd rather take him.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the one thing that you always hear in college is that I can teach scheme, I can teach so many things. I can't teach size, I can't teach speed, and so you need a couple of those people, in your Swiss Army knife. You need a couple of just big body people that can post up, take the abuse from the center backs, draw the attention, and then just turn and send a missile to the back of the net. I don't know if you necessarily have that at the moment. You have a lot of guys who can get the ball down to the area. The U.S. has no problem getting the ball down to the area, down to the penalty box. But at the same time, you're missing what I feel is just that hammer in the front. And so, but again, this is like arguing over the fact you don't have organic groceries in the refrigerator.
I don't have a Whole Foods in my neighborhood.
Right. This is, I'm sorry, this is not the free range, ethically treated, conflict free chicken that I requested. This is just standard. This is just standard chicken. What the hell is wrong with you? I mean, there's a lot of people who would rather be in the position that the U.S. men's national team is in right now. And Ronaldo is not going to Serie A. Ronaldo's going to Saudi Arabia.
That's a $225 million a year deal from Al Nasser is on the board, but most of it is tied to sponsor elements. So that 225 is not salary. That is salary plus sponsor elements. And so we're keeping an eye on that. But it looks like, Saudi Arabia. And apparently it was thought of all the way back into the last summer. And it was thought about, then it was tabled, and now the opportunity for CR37 is to go to Saudi Arabia for 3 years and play until he's 40. So that's on the table right now. Sean says, I actually don't think we have a striker problem. I think our wingers and midfield need to distribute and open space better. Need Reina.
Well, from a striker, as far as striker issues go, one thing that, if you look historically at national teams, there are a couple groups that have had major issues with the striker position. Portugal's one of them. Speaking of CR 412,
yes.
Portuguese wingers became the strikers for the team, where they would shoot down the wings and then cut across and unleash these hellish shots. It was only as Figo got older and only as Ronaldo got older that they moved more centrally. And then began to stay in that one position where you start to see any sort of quality increase. But from a youth perspective, Portugal makes wingers. I can't explain it. They just do. They've had an issue with the striker position since forever. But physical freaks on the wing, not a problem at all. They have that in spades.
It's like Americans making goalkeepers.
Yeah. America makes goalkeepers. Italy makes defenders. The English make strikers that cost 147 million when they should only cost about 12. I mean, the U.S. is starting to make a mean six. We're getting there, sure, but it's you're right, and the thing is that as long as they're utilized, accurately, your wingers can be very dangerous. They can be very effective, But the U.S. is not alone in that that area, that region. Yes, Argentina makes tens. Yes, that I don't think we can remotely argue that. So, this is not a new problem. It's not a problem only suffered by the U.S. So, you just got to make do with it, and you got to figure out the best way possible. Think about Portugal for a minute, right? You had prime Nani, you had prime Ronaldo, You had Figo, and toward the very beginning of those other two guys' career, and now you have Rafael Leao. I mean, it's like an assembly line of freakish wingers for the Portuguese national team, and I think if the U.S. should look at that and say, well, hell, I mean, if we have a problem with strikers, maybe this is how we start running our setup until we have the moment of clarity where Brandon Vasquez finally gets the call.
You've got now this is a question that I'm going to bring in from Sean, and we can mull on it, and this is probably going to be the question, capital T, capital Q, going forward. Who should be the next manager?
It's going to be Greg. Greg's not going anywhere. He made the knockout rounds, and the U.S. soccer is, if anything, a very corporate build. They are not very much in the world of dynamism and the world of being open to dynamic change. They are very much a corporate style entity, and stability is what they are going to cherish, I think. So unless Greg says, hey, I want to go back to club ball, which I don't think he's going to do, there's no way that U.S. soccer is going to get rid of him. He made the knockout. He took from non-qualifying Gold Cup win.
Third youngest team in the World Cup.
Yeah, third youngest team in the World Cup. There's no way in the world he's getting removed from this job. No, the U.S. soccer fan base should not prepare themselves for that. They should not expect that. There's a lot of, there's going to be a lot of people who are going to say, okay, thanks, Greg. Appreciate your time. Bye. No. Look at America. Look at the corporate, like the corporatization of America. And this is not a political statement. It just is what it is. The corporatization of America fits directly in line with how U.S. soccer is built. Greg Berhalter is a mid-level manager. He's a mid-level supervisor, and those dudes never leave. It's like Pirates of the Caribbean, part of the ship, part of the crew. That's Greg Berhalter.
I'm going to be so upset when this happens too, because I am I don't know if you've been here for these discussions, Nick. I am a very one cycle per coach kind of person. I don't like my coach getting multiple cycles. I think it gets stale. We've seen it with some of the best teams in the world, with Germany, for instance, where it gets stale. So I like to see change in those situations.
No, I agree. I don't know
who it would be for the U.S. next. Like, I don't think
it would be Marsh.
Like a Jesse Marsh.
It would be Marsh, I think. And that's the only other person I think who would be immediately ready to be dropped in. And I agree with Byrne. Yeah, Jim Curtin.
That's exactly where I was going to go with it.
Jim Curtin, yeah.
But I don't think that the U.S. corporate system of U.S. soccer, it's going to value stability, and it's going to value it's going to look at his current level of success and say this is infinitely better than anything we've had in the past 8 years. There's no reason to rock the boat. We're going to leave him as it is. So, I don't see that being the case. And I agree, Byrne. I don't think Jesse Marsh, from a World Cup build-up perspective, I would not put Marsh in, because I just don't think that system will do well for like Gold Cup qualifying, and then the slog of trying to, you don't have to qualify for the next tournament, obviously, but you still have to play the games, and you still want to have positive momentum going into that. So you have to have somebody who can slow things down and hold the ball. That's not Marsh. So
ironically,
it only goes one direction with that.
Ironically, it could be like what Japan had, which is Japan really struggled in qualifying because their style really put them at a disadvantage in the Asian Federation. However, now they're at the World Cup. it's been working better. I understand the game 2 didn't work for them, but their style fit better at the World Cup than it did for qualifying.
Yeah, and the one thing, when people talk about, Marsh and that system, I love that system. Ralph Rangnick is somebody who I have studied his game extensively. I've studied, the strengths and the weaknesses of that system extensively. I think that it is the best system. If you have a team that has no money, no budget, they have very few prospects on getting new players in, they only have a good youth system, and you're trying to promote that talent, the Ralph Rangnick, Jesse Marsh system works beautifully for that. It is the great equalizer. However, if you are in a situation where somebody drops into a low block and says, "Here, take the ball," very quickly you find that there are a lot of problems with that system. And having these kids just say, "Hey, look, go deep, go early, go often." What happens when the low block's put into place, and what happens at the last 10 minutes of a half where your side is exhausted, right? That's when all the chances come.
Yep.
It's the last, and John, we've had these conversations post Atlanta United and the Red Bulls games.
Yep.
When did all the shots come? Last 10 minutes of a half. Why? Because the Red Bulls got exhausted, right? They're gassed. So
we saw that with was it Toronto this year, where they just I don't know if actually it wasn't Toronto. Who was it we watched for the Atlanta United? I think it might have been Cincinnati, where the end of the half, everything just collapsed, and it was just lock your fingernails in, tape your hands to the table, and just hang on, and just hang on to the cliff edge.
Yeah, it's like the tattoo across the knuckles. Hold fast. I mean, that's it. It's the the minute that you start losing the cohesiveness across the top of the press, and you start having that 1 or 2 yard separation, it's broken, and then the ball's going right down the throat because of the high line. So I understand that there's a significant amount of people that want Marsh. He has great positive energy. I need to see a bit more adaptation from him outside of the just rigorously holding to the dogmatic approach of the Rangnick system. Even Red Bull is starting to wanting to get away from that. So they're not going to get away entirely, but
Yeah, go look at the kids that played the Baby Bulls this year in USL. It's more technical than it's been in years past. They're not all the way back to, they're not all the way to like playing a full technical possession style or anything like that, but it's getting more like, they can actually make stuff happen other than go direct to goal. It's interesting.
Hey, Parzival, inverting the pyramid, I think is probably the best starting point for books on basic soccer strategy, because it really goes into where it started and where it is now. And they even have an audio book for it that translates really well. So that's where I would start if you're looking for any sort of books on that. Tifo Soccer on YouTube also has some great tutorials about just some of the very 30,000 foot view of certain systems. So any of those I think it's a good place to get started. But there's going to be an expanded tournament, I think. So the U.S. is going to have, obviously automatic bid. Canada's going to have automatic bid. Mexico's going to have automatic bid.
6 out of CONCACAF, 6 out of CONMEBOL, 1 for Oceania, 16 countries out of Europe, 9 from Africa, 8 out of Asia. So that's
and U.S. soccer has a lot on their plate going into the next tournament, and because you have an automatic bid process, you are going to have to worry about. You don't have to worry about the slog of qualifying. You can run a lot of people out there, but you are also going to have a lot of expectations put on this team. And U.S. Soccer does not want to upset the apple cart with a new manager, a new system, a new process. It's going to be Greg Berhalter. And I think that he may tweak his system. Something that I think we've discussed previously is that in the early days, Greg ran things like a club team. And that's how we had the issues with Robinson getting injured because of, hey, we're gonna run your ass after a game, and then he got injured for that playoff run for Atlanta United. That he's changed now, and now he's running things more like a national team. And when you have that, it's been a growth process for him, and I think that U.S. Soccer is going to take that into account and let this be the U.S. World Cup, the CONCACAF World Cup, should I say, is going to be more, that this should be his final form, to use a Dragon Ball Z term. This is going to be Greg Berhalter's final form in the U.S. World Cup, and Brandon Vasquez should feature for that. He should not just feature for that; he should be one of the stars for that. And if you're a U.S. Soccer fan, you should kind of feel very, very happy with where your program is going leading up to that. It's not exactly, it's in a very good position now, probably the best it's ever been, but, Greg needs to improve his player selection process, right? That's a part of it. That's going to come, I think, when this tournament's done and he sits down, and if he does a true post-mortem on this tournament, the players he had, the players that he should have called, I think you're probably going to see a maturation process from that as well. And I know it's very rational. I know it's very boring for me to say that, but it's, time is needed sometimes.
Dylan Butler slated to join us in a couple of minutes. I know that, Jared, I think you turn into a real-world pumpkin coming up here. Bart Keeler joining us at 10:30 to give his views, provided he has a voice. So looking forward to all of that coming up. Gentlemen, you guys want to come back at 10:30 and reconvene with Bart?
I can do that.
Sweet.
I can try and do that.
Good. Cool.
Am I being kicked out, John?
No, you're not.
Is that what's happening here?
You can stay and
talk. Poofed and signed an eviction notice.
No, you can talk to Dylan if you want. You can stay as long as you want. That's the beauty of this thing, as we always do a Wall Pass Wednesday. But you can hang and talk to Dylan if you wish. I will lay that out for you, Nick.
All right, I'm gonna go get. I'm gonna go make a cappuccino, and I may tag back in. I'm gonna stay logged in though, so you guys will see my little blank avatar thing here.
Yeah.
We need to get you. You need to get a picture up in there.
Yes.
Do I though? Do I?
I mean, I did.
You did. I like your picture thing.
Well, thanks. Thank Mile High on the Discord. Mile High put that together for me.
Oh, see, I need to make that happen. I need to pay someone to make it, or just get a picture of like Arrigo Sacchi or something, and then make that work, or Cannavaro, or we can make that work. All right, I'm gonna go get a cappuccino there.
Okay, so Nick's
Jason, you don't want to see me right now, man. You don't want to see me right now, man. I look rough. So no. All right, cappuccino time. Get Dylan on here, man.
Cappuccino time for Dylan. So we'll get Dylan on coming up in just a sec. So Nick has gone into the waiting room, and no, I'm not going to. I'm going to just diminish Nick. I'm going to knock him off the screen. He's still logged in, so I can do this. And he's still there. So I can add him to the stream whenever he's ready, and he can come back in. But since it is getting close to the top of the hour, and you guys have been great today on a Wall Pass Wednesday. There's a lot of stuff to talk about and a lot of stuff to go with Dylan as well. But since it is the top of the hour, and it is time to cut promos and things like that, before Dylan comes on, let me take the music down to 20. And there's 20. Take it off of loop, hit the music, and cut the promo. Brought to us by our friends at Lemonize Service. A Lemonize Service for odor-free, clean, fresh air. Lemonize deodorizes enclosed spaces like houses, apartments, and condos. They've created a customized solution that eliminizes all organic odors, including those like pet, cigarettes, and food. Realtors and property managers use the Lemonize Service to eliminate bad odors to help them sell or rent their homes that much faster. Lemonize offers a turnkey process, makes it easy to work with realtors and property managers, kind to the environment, offering a green way to get rid of odors without any kind of toxic residue whatsoever. Different than Febreze or other masking agents. And because when you have your favorite masking agent and you have it either under the sink or above you in the cupboard, and then you reach either under the sink or above you in the cupboard, you spray the masking agent in the air. There's a reason they call it a masking agent. You're just masking the odor. You're not attacking the odors all the way down to the molecule like our friends at Lemonize do with their proven scientific formula. Pricing very, very easy, one of two ways, either by cubic feet or parts per million, and come up with the price that's affordable for you, offering results in 24 hours or less. If you have any questions, frequently asked or otherwise, one place you need to go, it's the website, and this is where I pick up my pen. Lemonize.com is where you need to go, but do us a favor here at SDH. After the .com, go /Atlanta so they know what part of the world that you are asking them to help with your problems. If I said the word from, that'd be ending a sentence in preposition. That's not very nice. So, Lemonize.com /Atlanta. ELIMINIZE.com /Atlanta. Lemonize.com /Atlanta for odor-free, clean, fresh air. Lemonize service, proud sponsors of everything SDH. Fade the music, have it crash down and not loop. And, there you go. So that's actually tell you what, because the second that I do something wrong, the music will pop back up and it's going to be completely and totally loud. So we got that going for us this morning. But, the biggest question, and I'm going to ask Dylan about it. Mike went into, I see. And that's the thing, Coco. All right. So here's the deal. As Dylan joins us here, Dylan, the folks who watch the show live on Twitch, when I cut the top of the hour promo, I usually get a grade. I would get a grade on my promo read. And I'm still, for the life of me. Oh, what's the mug this morning, by the way? Did you go back to your Yankees mug?
No, we are grateful.
Okay. Morning. Okay. So it's
appropriate.
Yes. And so, I do the promo read for our friends at Lemonize, and I get graded because I'm still trying to figure out, okay, the level of the music, where it goes. It can't be, 50-50 because then no one can hear me. Figured 15 to 20 was where it needed to be on the scale. And so I had it at 20. And so, of course, Coco grades me with a 4.
Whoa.
Because the mic went into distortion. And, and it's on a scale. It's on a scale of 1 to 10. Traditionally, that's what we do. And so because of the distortion of the microphone and the music, ended up with a 4, at least from Coco anyway, because you have others. You've got Coco. See, now here's where Coco's math was. The read was a 6, but the technology was a 3. So technically, I guess it's a 4.5. Sean comes in with a 6.55 this morning. So do not be surprised in the Twitch pitch if we end up with grades. Yes. And I was going to say Sean is the resident East German judge giving me the 6.55, and Coco gave me a 4.5. I don't know who really is the,
is it on like a sliding scale then? Like, do you just take the
no, everybody just slams me and gives me a grade that they feel that they want to. So
I didn't know there was going to be this kind of pressure coming in.
Oh well, no, it's just the pressure's on me. It's not on you. Everybody's
on our segment too. Like, it was our segment's not going to be graded.
No, the segment itself is not going to be graded. No,
right,
you're fine. You visit people like you. People like you. They sit there and they just give me grief all the time and all over the place. So, where were you yesterday watching the most angst-laden 9 minutes and 53 seconds probably in U.S. soccer history this week?
Yeah, I was at the Village Idiot Irish pub in Oakdale out here on the island. So I had to work an MLS shift till pretty much like kickoff. So I was trying to just find like the most local establishment. I've done a bad job of hitting these local spots around here because now to my defense, we moved at the very beginning of a pandemic. So, like the thought, and I have a, soon to be, I appreciate that, Jason. And so plus, busy at work. Plus, I have a soon-to-be 4-year-old, so haven't had these opportunities. This is actually my first time there, but it was good. It was funny because it was. I was joking with my buddy Jack and my cousin Eric, who came out for it as well. Good crowd, right? Not the most soccer savvy or knowledgeable, right? Like it was like, hey, this is the sporting event. Let's go watch it.
Okay.
So I was sitting there, at a table, and I had my back to some of the people at the bar. And then some of the chatter, like Pulisic scores, goes down and comes off. And then there was like are we playing with the man down? No, we're not. We're not playing with a man down. Somebody else came in for him, right? Like he can come back in later. And I was just like, I felt like I needed to like be on a stage or something with a microphone and just explaining everything. Well, folks, here in this situation, he did come off. They did not make a sub though, because he cannot come back into the game if they sub him out. So
you had to be the guy on the tarmac bringing in the planes for this one.
I felt like I probably should have been, but I guess it's kind of what you take a little bit with with the growing of the sport, right? Like more eyeballs and more confusion, I think, from folks. But this is I think what a World Cup brings, right? A lot more visibility to this sport, which is good and at times frustrating as well.
And we found out what pelvic contusions are all about.
Yeah, we certainly did.
Yeah.
But you know what? Listen, I thought, and I remember commenting a few times up to that point, I was like, he's like really playing well, right? Like it just seemed he had, he was that guy just taking defenders on, and like he had that extra gear, and he just looked like a different Christian Pulisic, right? That we've seen at the World Cup. Set pieces were still poor. Like he still couldn't clear that first post, but I just love him literally crashing the net to score the goal, right? Like, you and I are hockey guys too. And, like you always hear about, crashing the net, getting to the dirty areas, and such a gritty goal for him to score. Loved it. Obviously you wish he was able to celebrate, but we saw those great scenes when the U.S. gets back to the hotel, and he is super giddy, and the first time then seeing like his teammates, so that was a really cool sight. And now you just hope, we deal with so many different injuries, and you get to find, following the sport as long as we have, you know what certain injuries are, right, and their length. So like a high ankle sprain is really, really bad.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I have no idea the length of a pelvic contusion. But he says that he'll be ready to go on Saturday, so we will see.
Yeah, and so that's part of the shtick. And we almost had Tunisia scoring in the 8th minute against France, but right now still goalless. The flag was raised.
Yeah, I got the picture going on. So I've got the Australia Denmark on the bigger portion, and then I've got Tunisia France in a smaller window there.
Yeah. So that's where we have a finger raised. What? We have finger raised with the center ref. We checking? Are we checking? Yeah,
we're good.
Okay, we're good. So we're goalless there. We mentioned Christian Pulisic. It was yesterday's match was not the 9-8 Kings Kraken match from last night, by the way. I think that was 17 goals in a game. I cannot remember the last time that's actually happened. Okay, that was hockey down here. That happens usually about 2:55 in the morning on Thursdays. But U.S. is out of the group stage.
Yeah,
and
mission accomplished. Right.
Yeah.
However it happened, and not to cut you off, John, but like to
feel free, sir. Go right ahead.
When you take, I think, the group as a whole now. Listen, they didn't lose a match, right? Like, and if we're being not even greedy about it, right? Like it should have been 7 points, right? That should have been a win against Wales. So I think either of those. I think again, anybody associated fans of the U.S. team, that U.S. team itself, if you say we'll get 5 points in advance, you take that.
Yeah, and Matt Turner with back-to-back clean sheets.
Yeah, for sure. And he made he had a nervy moment late with a ball that had to get cleared, but made the saves that he had to make as well. And he's just growing in confidence, and he's looking great. So all positives, right? Like the angst that I was feeling this time yesterday, it was a deep breath, it was a cleansing, and it's let's go for the knockouts now, and this is the fun part of it.
Even as the lineup came out and it was CCV and Tim Ream, Annette Walker-Zimmerman and Tim Ream.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Because I know that I was concerned about chemistry at the back in a game that you had to have as a must win.
I thought he's better on the ball than Zimmerman, so I wasn't as concerned. I wasn't as concerned with that, to be honest. I think it was the other. I was like thinking, wow, I guess Jesus Ferreira is really down on this number 9 depth chart, and I didn't think that I thought he'd be at the top, right? Like I should say this. I should say I thought Sargent would start against Wales.
Yeah.
But then I just felt like it was, okay, well, he didn't show a lot, onto the next guy. And I thought the next guy would have been Ferreira. And then when it wasn't, and it was Haji Wright, I was like, okay, we didn't see a lot from him. Now it's on to the next guy. So it's like the third guy. So I thought for sure, well, I wouldn't say for sure, most likely he would get the start unless you go with literally, we have to go with our 11 best guys. And then you put Tim Weah into like a false 9 and then put Aronson on the field as a starter. So, but then when Sargent was out there and Aronson wasn't a starter, that was surprising to me.
One of the other comments that was raised in the Twitch pitch this morning is that the world is covered by 70% water. The rest of it's covered by Tyler Adams.
Oh my goodness. Listen, I'm not, it's not about me. It's not about like saying, hey, look what but like, even with you and I think you, me and Jason had this conversation last year or the year before, maybe last year, right? Like when it was like all these different guys with the armband, and I was telling you guys, having seen Tyler Adams up close at training in the locker, just like dealing with him during his time with the Red Bulls, I was like, this is the guy, right? To be the captain, and he should be the cap. Like, we shouldn't have this revolving armband thing. So certainly glad that he got it. And then of course, like the viral moment in the press conference, and I wasn't surprised, but I was just so proud of his response in the face of just unnecessary heat that he was getting.
9 consecutive questions
from the Iranian press.
Yeah, 9 consecutive questions from the Iranian press, and you had U.S. journalists raising their hands trying to ask questions, and for some strange reason, they were not called upon.
Yeah, and the women in the room, women reporters, were not called upon when Iran were doing their presser. So that's a whole nother story. But to Tyler, yeah, listen. So the leadership skills we knew about, but also just the ground that he continues to cover, and again, I saw that early. I remember watching him. Like I think the first wow factor for me with him was like Red Bull's run through the CONCACAF Champions League, and I remember him in Mexico, and like everyone, the whole talk about being in Mexico is, the altitude and the you're not going to have the air, and like it's going to be so hard, and the altitude, and like he just was making these lung busting runs and just never tired, right? And like when the conversation became about the qualifiers and how hard it's going to be. This new 3 matches in a FIFA window. How hard is that going to be? Squad rotation. You do not rotate a Tyler Adams. Like he's just robotic in that sense. So, another tremendous performance from him, and couldn't be prouder of what he's shown to now the world. That I was able to see with a small kind of contingent out there in New Jersey for a couple of years.
Is Weston McKennie a 60-minute run like hell guy and sub him off guy for you right now?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's an interesting question. I think he's still not like, there's fitness and there's match fitness, right? And he hadn't played for Juventus and for quite a while, so I think he's still not necessarily match fit, not 100% match fit at least, right? So at this point, I kind of think that, and I think you've got a pretty good group of midfielders there. I was thinking the like for like would have been an Aronson, but obviously, I think he came on from Musa, right? Brendan did, and that's been, I think, the sub, and I think it's been like a Costa for Weston, and that's been fine too. So I've got no problem with those subs. But yeah, no, it appears that way with Weston right now. You wish he was fully healthy, but at least we do have him for the amount of time that we have him, right?
Time for the Gio Reyna question.
Oh my goodness.
All right. And I mean, we've been talking about it a lot in the first hour, and where Greg says there's a bit of a knock, Gio says I'm healthy, then we don't see him. I'm of the thought pattern, why give your opponent something that they have to not practice for, to end a sentence in a preposition? If Gio is not match fit, if he's not good to go, if he can only give you that cameo to sit there and it's like, okay, hey, he's still here. We got him. You got to think about it. Why give the opposition one less thing to have to prepare for? That's how I look at it. If he can't go, then you're not going to sit there and go, well, yes, here in the knockout stages, we're not going to have Gio Reyna. No, you don't do that kind of stuff. You sit there and it's like what we say with hockey, coming back to hockey down here, where you're in the Stanley Cup playoffs. He's got an upper body injury. Oh, he'll play. We find it that Mark Recchi skated with a broken foot. Those kinds of things. You don't give fodder to the opposition if the situation with Gio Reyna is what we can suppose that we think it is.
Yeah, and again, I was around Gio a lot less than I was around Tyler Adams, right? When he was at the academy and I saw him training with the first team with NYCFC a bunch of times. So I would say I could speak a lot more certain about Tyler Adams about certain things than I can about Gio, but there's this, I think it was Eric Ronaldo kind of put out this storm a little bit, right? Of his theory that, maybe he was complaining or there was some sort of disciplinary thing there. I don't know. I don't, it would explain a lot. But he's not that kind of kid. Like he's not the, I gotta play, play me, kind of guy. He doesn't have a huge ego, so I could at least say that with certainty. So, I think it's the whole mind game thing right now, right? Like, he's got a no, I'm good. I could play. Like, the truth is probably we find out after the tournament, right? But you're right. I don't, why say, so and so has a bruised left ankle, right? Because guess what ankle is going to get tackled? First when when the challenge comes in. So I'm with you on that.
And I think though the other part of the discussion that the folks were having in the Twitch pitch was, then if that's the case, don't say everything's cool, that he's 100% and he's ready to go, or that he's like 80%, and then have Gio come out and say, no, I'm 100%. Don't have that as your evidence that you're entering into the case to sit there, because people would be distracted. It's like, but Gio said he's good to go. And that distracts folks into thinking, okay, it's like that Berhalter's holding him back for some other reason. I think that's the other element that folks are concerned about here.
Yeah, I think too, it just seemed like maybe those two didn't get a chance to get on the same page, right? Look with their stories, right? Like maybe he's probably not 100%, right? Maybe he's being held out for whatever reasons, and let's get our stories aligned before we go out to the press.
And I think that's the key here. It's like, look, all right, so here's what we're going to say.
Right.
You get in the huddle, and it's like, okay, he's press officers off to the side, and so Greg is sitting there with Gio, and it's like, okay, here's what we're going to do. Here's what we're going to say. You say this, I'll say this, and then we'll sit there and let everybody else think about what's going on. Let them think that they have to continue to prepare for you. I think that was the key too. Is like they didn't have their huddle, they didn't have their PR huddle before they went out and said what they said.
Yeah, I probably just didn't get that chance, right? Like in the craziness that was the post game of that match.
Yeah, so it's like, come on, just have that little side chat before you go out there and you sit at the table. Who else has impressed you? Who else impressed you in group stage, and who else concerned you in group stage
for the U.S.?
Yes.
I think there's a general concern with, and I'm not, breaking any news here, that inability to get that killer goal, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Like we saw a few opportunities where I think yesterday it was like Tim Weah was dribbling. There's like, I know it was Pulisic and maybe Sargent, right? Like we're out. Like if he just get that pass off to them and just get past the one defender, it's a 2-on, I think, and you'll have a goal. That you'll have your second goal. So still a concern, I think, with the number 9 position.
Yeah.
Just again, the goals aren't coming from there. I think I've been concerned about Pulisic again, the set pieces and the inability to be dangerous on them, and even just give your guys a chance. Like so many times, I feel like his corners are just being cleared at the near post,
right?
And not even giving a guy like we saw like I think his first 1 or 2 were cleared, and then you saw that they decided to go short, right?
Yes.
Like, and that didn't work either. So that's a concern for sure. But I think the midfield trio have been really good. I think Adams obviously has been the player of the tournament. Turner's been really good. Ream has been a really, really big surprise, right? From a guy we never thought he'd even be on the roster to that rock in the central defense, right? So absolutely. He's been a positive. Tim Weah has been a positive. He's another guy who's had concerns about his health, but again, just his ability to be creative and run at guys and give defenses fits. Even though he doesn't score that goal yesterday, still loved just being dangerous. And yeah, I don't like the outside backs. I think have been fine. Like not other guys have been okay. So yeah, I think those are probably my biggest sort of takeaways of the positives and the negatives, and the other guys have been good, solid.
And I know that, and Coco mentioned Tim Ream's been an MVP type player for the United States. And Coco, you weren't the only one. Critical of his inclusion on the roster, but dude has been a stud.
Yeah, you know what's funny? Coco and John and everybody else. Yes. I thought when he was named to the roster, you know what I was thinking, honestly? I was like, okay, you need another veteran guy, right? Like not, like a Sean Johnson or a DeAndre Yedlin. And those guys haven't played, right? Like I just thought he was like that guy you need in the locker room and at training to sort of guide a very, very young team. And then he's in the starting line for the first match. And I'm like, all right, well, you know what? I like it. He and Jedi already have that partnership, that combination. And then for sure, he's been lights out, right? Like he's so good on the ball. I think better than the other options that we have. So yeah, I think of if you had a pleasant surprises category here from this group stage, he's absolutely that guy.
Yeah.
I still think the MVP though it has been Adams.
Yeah, no question. Then that leads itself to the other big talking point that we had in the first hour. Are you a one cycle coach guy or no?
Yeah, we discussed this before. I'm not an either or. I know that's kind of vanilla of me, but I think it depends on the results and and the performances. I don't believe that that's a decision that needs to be made exclusively because of like the years. If you get me right, like if they go on to the semifinals, right? Like, how about we give Berhalter another chance, right? Like, I thought if he doesn't get out of the group stage, I don't think he survives it. So, I think it's purely based on results. I could see the argument against it. Needing a new voice, a new, you get concerned about being stale, maybe, right? From that standpoint, but I don't like if you're getting the job done, you're getting the job done. So
yeah, and folks were floating names that if Greg was not renewed, they were looking at Marsh, they were looking at Jim Curtin. Rich Ransom, our resident Philadelphia Union fan, was like, "You can't have Jim Curtin."
No, I think it's Jesse Marsh. I mean, if Jesse wants it, and I think he's absolutely the guy. There's no question.
All right, so state your case, counselor, on Marsh, Jesse.
He's shown when he was with the Red Bulls that not only obviously with Tyler Adams, but with others, he's very good with young players, and we've seen that too with Aronson, right? As well. I think he's always evolving. He's always learning. I think they play exciting, right? Like they were the best version of the Red Bulls when he was in New York.
Yeah.
He's proven that the stage, whether it's the Champions League or big domestic matches, or even now at Leeds, right? Like where pressure is there, big time pressure is there, and he's proven to step up to the case, and guys love playing for him, right? Like I don't know many guys, if any, who have said, "Yeah, it sucked playing for Jesse Marsh." Right? Like, he is a player's coach, and he wears that emotion on his sleeve as well, which I think the players love to see. So, I think he's the guy. I think because of that, like if it's a him versus Curtin thing, I think because of having success and the experiences that he's had in Europe, I think I would give him the nod there.
Argument accepted, counselor. We will hold it in evidence for future cases and future trials where we're having this discussion. They've got the Netherlands on the weekend, and I know that early on, as you're watching picture-in-picture, and I just have the one match off to my left. Hey, a yellow card for a team that's probably not going to make it into the knockout stage. That's a real good one. Against the Netherlands, I know that a lot of folks have been looking at that, and right now the U.S. Let me check juice boxes really quickly because they do exist in it with the next round of matches right now, and the numbers have decreased a little bit. Netherlands started out at a minus 115 in the composite. They're down to a minus 109. The U.S. are right now hanging around plus 350. What do you think at that 10 o'clock match on the 3rd, sir?
I think the U.S. are understandably the underdog, but as I said, I think I told you leading in. I think we spoke leading into the England match, or even I don't know, whatever it was. But they're better, I think, as the underdogs, right? Like they play better. It's that added, and I think it helps having those young guys in this sense, that added chip on their shoulder, right? So. I think that'll be a plus for the U.S.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not. I don't think the Netherlands. I can't pronounce that. I've watched every minute with like a scouting eye, but to me, they've not been like amazing world beaters, right? They haven't looked like a team that would win the World Cup to me. So, it's not a Brazil. It's not, like it. I think you can go in with a little bit of confidence as well, right? And I think these younger guys will know that they're the underdogs, and they'll come in still with a swagger, right? We expect that from an Adams, from a McKennie, if Pulisic is on the field. So, I didn't have them I did the World Cup bracket at MLSsoccer.com. I did not have them winning this match. I did have the matchup.
Okay.
I did not have them winning this match, to be honest. I would like to be wrong, but I don't think it's the level of shocking upset. Like, I don't know if it's that, right? Like, I think it would be an upset for sure, but I don't think it's not the U.S. beating England in 1950 kind of an upset.
Yeah. Okay. So we will hold you to that when you come back next week. What else is on your mind? What else are you writing? What else are you doing, sir?
Yeah, I mean, I'm from a broadcasting standpoint, I'm not even between seasons. I'm like, I've got a Senior Bowl football game tonight that I was like prepping till like 1 a.m. yesterday.
Ooh.
Yeah, fun times. And then I've got 2 basketball games on the weekend, so I'm kind of between football, basketball.
It's the collision of sport.
Darts, World Cup happening. Like, it's just this comes in handy right about now. So
yes, and especially the message on said mug. Well, Dylan, as always, it's great to have you on our Wall Pass Wednesday, where pretty much everybody has everything on their mind, and they throw it our way, and we talk about it at Dylan_Butler, MLSsoccer.com, OSDB Sports. His high school sports are colliding with varsity media, and it's always fun to have you on, my friend. Go watch your picks.
And also, by the way, Friday night, I don't even know if you have it down in that area, but your show is worldwide. So I will be on MSG Network on Friday night. It's one of like 7 games I'm going to be on the call for high school basketball wise. So if anybody in the Atlanta area or elsewhere gets any of the MSGs, I think it's called MSG-SN now, but I'll be on that live Friday night.
MSG-SN, Dylan Butler, Friday night. Yes. And so you're a couple of weeks behind us. Our championships, our semifinals are this week, and our championships are next week when it comes to high school football, but we'll be keeping an eye. Put the link in the Twitch pitch so folks can watch. Go ahead and do that.
I don't even know if I have it. Sorry.
Post it on social media when you find it. Dylan, it's always great to catch up with you. OSDB Sports, MLSsoccer.com, Varsity Media, MSG-SN, and everything else going on. You own the Tri-State, sir. We'll catch up with you next week.
Cheers.
He is grateful as always, Dylan Butler. And so that means it's time to add Nick Alifi back. Nick Alifi returns. We'd like to, Nick, we'd like to hear you.
No, you don't. You don't want to hear me. Look, I was sitting in the back, and I go by the old Dusty Rhodes philosophy of never steal another man's pop.
Okay.
And so I wanted to make sure Dylan had, because Dylan always brings such great information to the table. So I wanted to make sure gave him his room. Though I disagree with him on his take on Marsh. That's fine. We can disagree as gentlemen.
Yes.
But yeah. So I got my and it gave me time to make a Portland coffee.
Okay.
So if you've never been to Portland, it takes about 25 minutes to get a cup of coffee.
Okay. So Coco is asking, is the Agnelli news as big as it seems?
Yes.
Elaborate, sir.
It is as big as it seems. The main issue that you have is the moving of funds. This is something we've talked about on Soccer Over There for a long time, which was Juventus is a subsidiary of Exor. Right. And so Exor is the parent company, is a global conglomerate that, there was a lot of opportunity there to move money around. And Juventus is not a private entity. It's a publicly traded company. And this is where the problem comes in. And that they essentially ran 2 different sets of books. They had the books that made everything look like they were economically stable. Things were very thin, not a lot of margin. However, when they took on the salary of Cristiano Ronaldo and a couple of other players, and through COVID especially, those numbers just didn't work. At no level did those numbers work. So there's a group, essentially the Spanish taxman with guns. It's the Italian taxman with guns. Guardia di Finanza raided the offices and pulled paperwork. And if Guardia di Finanza shows up at your doorstep, it's legitimate. This isn't a political hit. Excuse me. This isn't a political hit. This isn't a any sort of smoke and mirrors deal. It's like the FBI showing up.
Yeah.
And when it was discovered that they essentially cooked the books and that Juve has actually suffered a 230 million euro loss, that doesn't fly with a publicly traded company. And so that's why you saw the entire board resign. So when the entire board resigns, Agnelli is not ceding control of the team. He's ceding control of the decision-making apparatus of the team. Pavel Nedved is ceding control of the decision-making apparatus of the team. They are essentially saying, look at the board, punish the board, put Agnelli in a position where essentially Major League Baseball put George Steinbrenner for a couple of years, where you can own the team, you have zero decision-making capabilities, you can't do anything that involves the governance of the team.
You're in governing timeout.
Right, you're in governing timeout. And so that's what they're trying to do. And this is what La Liga is saying. La Liga is saying, hey, you have to punish Juventus, the sporting side. You can't just, you can't just separate the two and have them two distinct and separate entities. Because if you're cooking the books, why are you cooking the books?
Right.
So you can afford players. Players change the outcome of games. So if you can't afford Cristiano Ronaldo, are you progressing as far in the Champions League? If you are progressing in the Champions League with ill-gotten players, well, who got knocked out as a result? Who paid the penalty for your crimes? And so that's where you are right now with this investigation, is they're trying to figure out, all right, how do we balance punishing the board and punishing the team? Also coupled with the fact that this isn't the first time something like this has happened with Juventus, where in 2006, you had the Calciopoli scandal, the team got relegated. A large chunk of the team stayed to help the team fight back to Serie A. You're not going to have that this go round. That stalwart group of Juventini who would fight and stay for Juve aren't there. And so Bonucci would probably stay. That's about it. I can't think of too many others who would stay. Chiesa might. There's not really a ton of other places for him to go unless Milan moves Rafael Leao for a significant chunk of cash, and then they go get Chiesa. That's the only way I can think of it working financially in Serie A. And somebody posted this on Twitter, and I'm sorry I don't have your name right in front of me, but someone said it the best, and that is that an argument was put forward, and this is something I've said. Mm-hmm. Serie A needs Juve.
Yeah.
The national team needs Juve. I hate Juventus more than I hate Inter. But I recognize what they bring to the table. And that's also part of the problem, because the board of Juve feels the same way. And so they have this, we are too big to fail. We are too important to be punished. And for that reason, they should be punished. The 30-point deduction, I don't know what that necessarily does other than shove them to the bottom of the table. I think it's probably what's going to happen.
Yeah.
You may have players who recognize they're not going to get to Champions League anytime soon, so they would probably bail at that. But Juve needs to be hammered, and there needs to be a change of philosophy fundamentally at the club. And so this is, a lot of people are screaming for them to get relegated. I don't think they're going to get relegated. I'd prefer for them not to be, but I don't think it's completely, out of left field to say that might happen. And to have something like this go back to back, 2006 was a long time ago, but to have two large incidents involving the same team of rigging the system, either on the field or financially, you can't have that.
It's SMU all over again.
It's SMU. It really is. And that's what I was thinking about this morning. I'm like, good God, they should just be given the death penalty at this point because they've really gone so far. It's like, now wait a minute, if the Pony Excess 30 for 30, if you have not seen the Pony Excess 30 for 30 about SMU, it is must watch. And there's one of the reporters for the Dallas, I want to say it was Dallas Morning News, that said, essentially the NCAA said, now look, don't do this again. Yeah. And SMU kept doing it. Now, we mean it this time.
Yeah, we mean it.
Something had to be done. And I think that's where we are with Juve at this point. And this is why they wanted to go to Super League. Look at the timeline. This isn't like crazy man in the back, like, the UFO conspiracy, but if you look at the timeline, it makes sense.
Yeah.
You're coming out of COVID. You had all of these major teams say Super League, Super League, Super League. Why? Because they had just undergone the longest economic shortfall in their history. The curtain was pulled back. Pay no attention to the man behind the mirror, or behind the curtain rather. We realized that these businesses were running on much thinner margins than we were led to believe.
Yeah.
And certain teams could survive that. The Premier League teams could survive that. La Liga teams, Real Madrid could survive that. Barcelona could survive that. And they're hanging on by the skin of their teeth. Serie A teams absolutely could not survive it. The TV deal's not good enough. The butts in the seats component is not good enough. And that's why you had Agnelli trying to turn Juve into a larger scale Venezia, where there's more focus on the marketing and the branding side than the on-field product. And he went to war with the ultras. He went to war with the season ticket holders.
Man.
And it was just one bad decision after another, including keeping the unibrow. I don't know why he keeps doing that. There's lots of technology.
Nick's really fired up about this.
They can solve that. But if you look at the payments for Super League, it was about what, 200 million?
Yeah.
How far are they short? 230 something million euro. So they desperately needed Super League to happen in order to remain solvent. They don't have that. They messed around, cooked the books on a publicly traded company. Guardia di Finanza is involved. Federal government's involved. And you have enough people at the top of a now very right-wing Italian government who are insistent upon showing the rank and file that no one is above that. We will bring justice of the people to these rich people who've been suppressing you for so long. The government, Giorgia Meloni is her mom's Sicilian, dad is Sardinian. Southern Italians traditionally looked down upon from the north. She was raised in Lazio, so there's no need in her mind to protect a northern team, especially like Juve. You have Salvini. Salvini's a diehard Milanista, diehard Milan fan, ultra right winger, zero desire to see any support going toward Juve's way. There's enough momentum now to really bring the hammer down on Juventus.
Really fired up about this part.
Look, I'm just bringing facts because these are things that are very problematic.
Yes.
So with that, I will turn the floor over to Bart, because this is something that it's absolutely, the question again, is it as bad? Yes, it's that bad, and I just laid out all the reasons why. Statement, I think it's 30-point deduction, but the initial headline will be Juve relegated. Mm-hmm. I think they'll appeal, and it'll be a 30-point deduction.
So Coco Bart is probably accurate. Welcome to the morning edition of Soccer Over There. Microphone, you're muted.
You're muted. We were all trying
there
to be responsible.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, you can. Yes, you're good.
I completely missed the fact that Juventus did a Juventus thing again this morning. I'm sorry that I was not caught up on that. Yeah. I mean, like you said, at this point, it's the SMU of like, hey, don't do that. No, but seriously, don't do that. But Nick, the one thing you can take some solace in is, as much as Juve may be down for a few years, just like Hugh Freeze was down for a few years, you're going to come back up.
Oh God.
Oh my God.
Wow. I mean, oh man.
Poor damn Tiger Eagle, right?
Oh my God. As someone who is married into that Auburn family, the roof blew off of both the office and the casa when that announcement was made.
Hugh's only problem was he was doing the same thing that the big boys were doing, and they didn't like that.
Oh no. We know he was NIL before NIL was cool. Yeah. That the boss has no issue with.
Right.
Coco, who's more morally bankrupt? They're NCAA college football programs. They're all morally bankrupt. Don't try to pretend like there's one that's more like, come on. Hugh Freeze was coaching at Liberty. Let's not talk about morals at this point.
And the irony of that and all of the other elements that were attached to that. Yeah, the boss is less than pleased, and she ain't the only one. And when you have a press conference, welcome to the OSG College Football X, by the way. Yeah, Michael, keep AU out of a civil conversation.
Let me tell a very brief story here that a very respectable reporter told me. This is back when I worked at NCAA.com.
Right.
So late nights, we're covering all kinds of different sports, and and I want to say this was around the tournament period. And the conversation came up about certain players who had SATs taken for them, shown up at a school and had bags of money handed to them, and we were all making fun of it. And he said, and we were kind of asking the question of how long has this been going on? And this was from an intern who'd put this forward. And this reporter said, I met with a coach one time, had a good relationship with him, and he said, I'm going to tell you the craziest story I've ever heard in my life. And he said, we met with this player, and the player was, top tier. Every school in the nation wanted him. And we said, look, we think we have a very good package for you. And it's laid out like this. You like fast. You currently live in a house. It's got holes in the roof. Your mom and dad works for a construction company. Dad's gonna be a foreman of a construction company. You're gonna have a house paid for, no problem. There's gonna be 2 Jeep Wranglers in the driveway. All they got to do is drive them. Tires, gas, that's covered, no problem. You like fast cars, you're going to have a Trans Am, tires, gas, paid for. You're going to have an off-campus apartment, paid for. You pay to rent. There's going to be a white envelope with cash under your mat when you get home. You're going to show up at the airport. You're going to have a check-in. You're going to sign whatever they want you to sign, autograph, whatever, and then you're out the door. Your parents are going to have 2 flight passes on Continental. Anywhere they want to go, they can show up for game day. They can go to Tahiti. Who cares? Anywhere Continental flies, it's there. You're going to have a $1 million Lloyd's of London policy that when you graduate, matures, it's yours. Have fun. And we think we've laid out a pretty good package here for you. What do you think? And in the slow Texas draw, this kid goes, Coach, you're not even close. The player was Eric Dickerson. The school that had showed up the day before was SMU. So, and if that tells you how long this has been going on and at what level this has been going on, but if that gives you any idea about the bankruptcy.
They called it the Trans A&M.
Yeah.
That's one of the best stories too. Is that
no doubt. So
about the Trans Am. Don't sign anything.
Are you gonna Dale Hansen? Are you gonna report about yourself about the bribe? No. Bart, I'm surprised that you actually still have a voice after yesterday.
I got called out on a work meeting this morning. Granted, they made me get onto a conference call at 9 a.m., so that's also their fault. But they said, you sound like you've been out of the bar all night. And I was like, well, I was at a bar for 10 hours yesterday yelling at 400 people, so that might be it.
Well, and this is the first time that we have had you on since the England match and the 80 gazillion people that were there.
Yeah.
Once again, I've got to give a shout out to everybody at Wild Heaven. I've got to give a shout out to you guys at American Outlaws for putting on a hell of a show. And for those that missed it, you missed out on a great time. I don't think a lot of folks understand what happened, all the logistics paired up with Scott Flood and the Flood Project, everything there with AO, all that to make that happen. Have you had a chance to have a post-mortem about all of that stuff and have it sink in yet for everything?
To be honest, no, because Scott was immediately like, okay, when's the next event? And I was like, Scott, listen, man, let me breathe. But honestly, no, because as I've jokingly said, I'll breathe Wednesday, this entire turnaround, but now I can't breathe until Sunday because, the U.S. is continuing to play. We've still got a party. We had a party yesterday. We've got a party Saturday at Fido as well. So it just keeps on trucking, man. It just keeps on trucking. But it was not lost on me how massive of an event we had last Friday. And again, I'm just thankful that everyone who showed up and had a great time, was patient with, the Wild Heaven staff, was gracious to us, was in it for the good spirit of the game, not to, be jerks about things. Not that England needs to have, earmuffs or whatever on their fans, but it was just a very good soccer environment, and I'm very thankful to everyone who created that, because it was fantastic. I mean, we've got some pictures coming in from Atlanta United and their crew who were on the ground there, and they're cool. It punctuates how big of an event it was.
Nick, your USMNT question for SoccerForUS pods at Bartimus Prime 19. Now it's your turn to unmute, sir.
No, I got to be. Look, this is going to happen because
you're at halftime. It doesn't matter right now.
Yeah. So my question really is going to be, as we discussed earlier before you came on, who, if you're not going to have a striker who's going to be the person to put the ball, the focal point of the attack, putting the ball in the back of the net, who becomes that player who is the person that you can look at 80th minute, tied game, somebody's got to put the ball in the back of the net. Who are you looking at?
Well, I don't know if there's one person, but I do think that I would trust Christian Pulisic the most, because he has repeatedly been able to score big goals for the United States. But I mean, I think we've got guys like Tim Weah who can do it. We've got guys like Serginho Dest who have shown the ability to beat a man on a dribble and put the ball in the back of the net. Gio Reyna's in the chat. I don't know if he's alive at all, to be quite honest, but hey, Gio would be a guy that I would say could do it. I don't think it has to be one person. I think the goal is that you have a bunch of people who have the ability within the system to find spaces to be creative. That's the goal, right? Have your good players get into positions for them to be good. Now, that said, I would love to have a striker that I would feel confident is going to score. I don't think that's a Berhalter issue. I think that's the U.S. men's national team just doesn't have one of those right now. Mm-hmm. I have to say, though, I thought Josh Sargent played phenomenally yesterday. And the fact that he was more involved with the build-up was a positive. And the fact that he was, really combining well with our midfielders and our wingers was really good to see, because we haven't seen that from the strikers yet this tournament. And I think that cemented his spot as the starter. He just, I would like to see a striker score a goal. Granted, we've only scored 2 this entire tournament. So
once again, our friends at Soccer America, and Bart has ripped them from pillar to post with some of their rankings that they have come out with in each of the tournaments. So I always like to use this as like the the lightning rod for Bart when he comes on after a match.
I just feel like they forget that this is a World Cup and things are hard.
Things are hard. Yes.
Anyway, continue.
No, it's just Matt Turner gets a 6. Jedi Robinson got a 5.
On a scale of what? Well, a 1 to what?
1 to 10. Yeah, 1 to 10. So Jedi got a 5.
That's a choice.
Okay.
Destin Ring got 8s and CCV got a 7. So Nick, you have umbrage with that 5 for Jedi Robinson.
Yeah, look, I feel like a lot of these people who do these ranking systems expect everybody. It's like a scale of 1 to Pele, who, by the way, is in the hospital in Brazil and not doing well. So our prayers go up to him. But I feel like we have this kind of really absurd scale of like it's 1 to 10 and 10, and you're going to be it's this whole thing of if you don't perform at this exceedingly excellent level, then you're a 5. Excellent. You're mid. Right. And I'm sorry, Robinson did a tremendous amount of work yesterday, had a yeoman's effort, did every pass land crisply and cleanly? No, but he's a big reason why you walked out of that game a winner. And for some group to sit there and hippo poop all over the place because somebody didn't play like Maradona, I think it sort of feeds into the hot take media culture that we're sort of stuck with during the World Cup.
All right. So
look, defensively he had 9 recoveries. Yes, he was dribbled past 2 times, but okay. 2 of 4 on ground duels, 2 of 2 of aerial duels, 3 clearances, and then from a passing standpoint, 2 for 2 on successful dribbles. Total passing numbers, 76% passing, which was not bad against, again, a team like are they aware that the other team is playing soccer and trying to make them not be able to do things well? Like, that's what I don't get. Right. Like, it's not like he passed 75% against a cone. He passed 75% against a team that their entire game plan was to kick us and then kick the ball away. It wasn't like this was free-flowing open soccer for most of the game, and especially in that first half, Iran made it difficult. So, I don't know. I'm looking at FOTMob. He has a 7.7 rating. I think that might be a little high, but I also think that all the guys deserve great ratings because we won a damn game in the World Cup, something we've only done 6 times since I was born.
Yep.
So,
yep. Jedi Robinson, 2 for 4 on ground duels, won both his aerials, 76% passing, 28 to 37 on 70 touches, 3 for 5 on long balls. And I think that if you dial it back to a couple of elements that led into the goal itself, the long ball from Jedi to Weah, to Dest, across from Jedi to Serginho Dest. Dest settles, brings it in as Pulisic is prepping for his pelvic contusion. But I mean, the ball that Jedi sends from one end to the other on the 45, I'm like, are you kidding me with that?
Again, I just like the Soccer America ratings. I think
and that's why I bring them up, because it's a point to sit there and engage.
If you would have said he gets a 6, I go, okay, maybe, sure. But I think also, by the way, I will again point out that Anthony Robinson is a defender. And Nick, I don't know, maybe you can respond to this. How many goals did we concede yesterday?
Carry the 2, carry them 0, right?
0. Yeah. Only gave up 4 shots, by the way, which to a team that, to be fair, had scored 4 goals coming into this game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
We live in a world now where I think that it's the ultimate teamification, that invents a word here, of general reporting now, where we have people who play Football Manager or they play FIFA, and
which means they're eminently qualified to give you a satisfactory rating on what they think happened.
Yeah, exactly. And so instead of looking at things and saying, "Hey, look, this is a defender who is, this is a back line that's essentially helping to keep a clean sheet here. They're doing a good job of doing that." Nope, it's mid. And so, we see these kids are like, "Well, what's this guy's speed rating on FIFA?"
Right.
80. Oh, he's trash. It's dog water. It's like, wait, what? And so, look, you got to get your clicks. You got to get your engagement. I get it. I understand. But to say that this backline did anything from, other than a very, very good job, I think is a bit absurd.
Yeah.
So.
Yes, so blame Mike Moitala for the rankings. Midfield, McKennie got a 7, Adams got an 8, Yunus Musa got a 6. So, kind of what we expected. Musa,
I would give Musa a 7 personally. I think that he was very instrumental in keeping the ball for a lot of us and helped, especially on that right side where we attacked a lot. Both keep possession but also start attacks, because I think that was the thing that stood out to me yesterday as a whole. Was it wasn't like we were just horseshoe of death passing.
Mm-hmm.
There was trying to be incisive. There was a lot of combinations on the wings to try to get those. So yeah, it did end up a little bit going like this, but that's again because Iran was playing that way. But there wasn't just it wasn't like we were just like, okay, we'll kick the ball, it's fine. We were trying to find pockets in those passing lanes, and I think Musa was a big part of that. So I think 6 is a little low for him personally.
Weah and Sargent got 6s. Christian Pulisic got a 7. Subs got 4s or incomplete. And so
Christian Pulisic sacrificed the lineage of his future family, and you give the man. This is what no, give him a 10. Give him a 10. He scored the damn game winner.
Yeah, the numbers are stupid. The numbers are stupid. I'm sorry. I think the number rating system is so stupid. It's because and then somebody backs it up by saying, well, XG this and XG that, and look, I'm sorry. Did you win? Yeah, we won. Okay. Who are some players that we look at and say maybe they could be better? Shaq Moore. I think Shaq Moore needs to be better. And I think that's
I would argue Shaq Moore probably doesn't need to be in the games anymore, to be quite honest. I don't think he's earned it. But
and I think that's a very fair conversation to have. But to sit there and be like, well, Pulisic could have done more. I mean, the guy got like a ballinectomy at the to put the team ahead. What do you want him to do? I mean, literally, put the ball, wink, wink, on the line and managed to get it over. So I don't know what these reporters. I don't know what they want.
They want to fill up space and get clicks, Nick.
That's great. That's awesome. But you have to understand the role you play in the ecosystem too. You have to understand that it is a legitimate ecosystem, and that you are a key component to this ecosystem being successful. And one way of being successful is not just Team America, World Police. No, it's actually trying to make sure that you're reporting things accurately and within context. Mm-hmm. And we live in this engagement world where it's not even, you have people say, I don't do clicks, no, but you do engagement, you do sell subscriptions. And so I get it, I guess, but the whole idea is, did you win? Did you get through? Yes, you did. Then there's no need to do an autopsy. There's no need to do an autopsy because the patient is still alive.
That's where I'm at this morning, Nick. And I saw this like almost immediately after the game. And we can have a conversation about. I don't think Shaq Moore has proved to be World Cup quality this tournament. He's been a problem. But at the end of the day, you know how many goals we've conceded with a Shaq Moore on the field? 0. But there are a lot of people being like criticizing Berhalter for being too defensive in the second half or all these things. I'm like, we won a match in the World Cup. Do you know how many teams would love to say that? This tournament? Yeah.
home country'd like to say that.
Right. This tournament specifically, Qatar went 0 for 3 in a tournament they hosted, which,
sorry.
Pour one out for them. Oh, wait.
I try not to say the Q word on this show, that particular country. I just refer to them as the host nation.
Yeah, and was it 1998 where the U.S. didn't score at all in the World Cup?
Right, we went 0 for 3, didn't score. We won again. We have won now a total of 6 World Cup matches in my lifetime, and I'm not like young. I've been around for the whole since 1990. I've been alive, so it's been a lot of just not perfect soccer at the World Cup, because playing perfect soccer at the World Cup is very unlikely.
It's very difficult.
We can criticize. There are times to criticize Berhalter. I think you need to look at him as a whole when the tournament is over, whenever that ends, to say, okay, where do we think his issues were? Because also this match, I thought we had a great first half, personally. Mm-hmm. I thought that, like I said, it wasn't just let's try to pass the ball and possess it, right? We were trying to score. We were trying to find spaces in between their lines. We were trying to find spaces between their defenders. And that was a team that was really resolute the whole tournament. Their goal was to not give up a whole lot of goals. Obviously, they gave up 6 to England. I think there are a lot of reasons for that. But, they were a team committed to not losing that game, a team committed to not giving up a goal. We got a goal in the first half, which meant that now the second half you can be more defensive, because up until that point, Iran, they still only created 4 total shots the whole game. That's pretty darn good when you look at it in its entirety. And you put Iran into a position to play a game that they didn't want to have to play.
Yep.
By scoring in the first half. I even think we maybe could have, if you want to criticize anyone, I think we probably could have had a second goal in the first half. I think there were opportunities to have scored before that.
No doubt.
I think we had opportunities to score in the second half, and we didn't. But again, you got a goal, not early, but you got a goal in the first half. That's the biggest thing that you need to do against a team that's going to be defensive, is to try to score in that first half, because that forces them, even with halftime adjustments, to play a game that they don't want to have to play.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what we made Iran do. And at the end of the day, we were resolute defensively. We got the ball away when we needed to. We cleared it. We stifled them at the end. Their biggest chance was them 2-foot slide tackling our goalkeeper and winning a penalty kick on us. That was their biggest chance of the match, was at the very end like that.
Yep.
And I will be the first to say again, Greg Berhalter has not done anything in my mind to say let's keep him for the next cycle. That is but that's my general operation with any World Cup or international manager, right? We've talked about this. But also, you can't just sit here and be like, well, he sucks at this, this, and this, when the dude has not lost a match during the World Cup. We've conceded one goal from open play, and that was a very bad momentary lapse of judgment from one player, and before that, a series of players. Like, that's not a Berhalter problem, right?
Mm-hmm.
Look, yes, let's criticize the Shaq Moore sub. Let's criticize a little bit going defensive a little too early. However, I think that we had to switch to a little bit more of a defensive posture when we had to take Pulisic out of the game.
Yeah.
That also impacted the subs you're going to make after that, because on the wing, yeah, you could have put on Gio Reyna fine, but I just don't think Greg trusts Gio. I'm not saying I agree or disagree. I just don't think Greg trusts Gio right now in that type of game to have played 45 minutes. And I think that's a somewhat okay feeling for him to have. I don't agree or disagree. That's just how it feels. But now you've taken a guy who you normally would have put in the midfield. That probably would have been your McKennie sub, right? But now he's playing on the wing for Pulisic. So now your next sub has to be Kellen Acosta, because, look, the last thing you wanted to put Christian Roldan on the field in a World Cup period, let alone in a game where you have to absolutely close it out. Kellen Acosta is good at that. It's fine. And that just kind of impacted the rest of your subs, right? You clearly weren't planning to have to make a sub at halftime. You did. That probably forced Berhalter to be a little bit more defensive earlier than he would have wanted. The games are not played on paper. They're played in the moment. And unfortunately, things happen that you have to react to. Again, I don't know if Berhalter has the greatest game literacy in the match, but at the end of the day, he has to respond to the situations that are in front of him. And they're not done on paper, or they're not done in a spreadsheet where you create all these formulas and find the perfect solution.
Yeah, there's no pivot table for him to say, okay,
right.
Column 3, row F clearly states that we need to put somebody else in. Look, we've come a long way from Bora Ball, as a country. Right. It's light years ahead of where Samson was and everyone else. So look, it's not going to be perfect. Even World Cup winners have had people question roster decisions. So it's, outside of, maybe France's run and in Italy's 2006 run, where they didn't concede a goal from open play in like 98% of the tournament. It's very, very seldomly are we treated to an almost perfect performance. And so there's always going to be room to look at things and say, this could be better, that could be better, this could be improved, decision-making on subs could be better. Great. Valid. But when you're in that moment and the linchpin of your attack takes a need to the to the future, yes. and as it has to be subbed off, that changes your calculus entirely. And now it's like, okay, well, now the decision goes to, am I trying to recreate what Pulisic does and sub in someone to keep the attack moving as is?
Or do I CONCACAF the daylights out of it and get out of Dodge?
Yes.
Which, by the way, Iran was doing in the first half. Like, so clearly that's the game that they were like, hey, we're going to do this. Give it back to him. Make them frustrated.
Mm-hmm. And
yeah, who's the most frustrating player on this team? Brendan Aronson.
Yeah.
Anyway,
it's there's going to be opportunities here. I think I still think there's time in this tournament for Gio to make an impact. I do, and
agree.
If let's say against the Netherlands, I think Gio is somebody who you could absolutely put in, and he has experience with a lot of these guys, and can have an impact. And that doesn't mean he's completely factored out of the tournament, but
I hope not.
Yeah, I hope not. Because I think it would certainly be more interesting with the tournament's more interesting with him in it. But you've progressed far beyond what I think a lot of the click warriors out there thought you would be doing. There are a lot of people who said, nope, it's going to be England and Wales getting out of the group. And the U.S. men's national team in Iran will be, scuffing it up for, personal, international diplomacy points. And that's not what happened. And so, I think there's two teams in this tournament so far who have looked like they're world beaters, and that's Spain and England so far. And I don't know if England has necessarily been tested the way, that where right. I feel like, if they go against somebody and not to mention they have a history of being, choke artist. Yeah. And when the time comes, but Spain to me looks like they're absolute world beaters. Brazil looks like they have the ability to take it up another gear or two. Yeah. Outside of that, it's anyone's tournament.
Mm-hmm.
It really is.
Yeah. It's been, I think we felt this way going into it. I think we all felt it was Brazil's the most likely to win. Everyone else has pretty much just as much a chance, right? Obviously with Neymar being whatever status he is, we're not quite sure,
cantaloupe ankle.
Yeah, that brings it back down. I mean, but you're to your point, again, the US, if you're looking at that, you tied an England team that was more than happy to take a tie in that match. Mm-hmm. Which is fine because you got a result too. Again, you were still able to hold off on a team that outside of your game scored 9 goals. That's pretty good. And to credit Greg, you created a game plan to force them to not create a whole lot of chances and score a whole lot of goals. Mm-hmm. So I think, again, yes, there are some things you can criticize Greg for. But, just trying to be this contrarian because you can without understanding the bigger picture of the fact that we just advanced to the knockout rounds of a World Cup, meaning we just, in my opinion, this justifies the ranking we have in the FIFA World Rankings, right? Like we were ranked 16th. We are now, in theory, one of the top 16 teams in the world. Mm-hmm. It justifies that to me. Yeah. That's a credit to Greg Berhalter. That's a credit to the players on this team. Do we need to score more goals? Yes. Is that always a Greg Berhalter problem? No. Do what again? Do I think that Shaq Moore is the answer as a sub? No, but I also don't think DeAndre Edlin is. So, is Joe Scally the guy you're putting in there to close out a game? Maybe that's a better option. I don't know, but I will also concede that Joe Scally and Gio Reyna are under the age of 20. So,
well, and one thing to show is that what the U.S. men's national team showed is that if you have the horses to keep up with England, England to me feels like a later career Mike Tyson, where if you got Tyson outside of the 4th round, you could do it. You could land a knockout punch on him. And I feel like this is England where, once you shove Harry Kane into the setup man and not into the danger man, you can absolutely stifle them. And the U.S. could, and I'll argue should have won that game. But that's why the tournament is going, that's why the tournament's played. We're going to see the United States take on, the Dutch. And I don't think the Dutch are particularly, I don't think this is the Dutch's tournament. I don't think that I think they can win, but at the same time, I think they're just as likely to walk out with a loss. Mm-hmm. So,
I honestly was more scared to play Senegal than I was Netherlands. At least you know the type of
Yep.
game you're going to get with the Netherlands.
Yep.
Yeah.
Senegal has been up and down in this tournament a little bit within games in this tournament. So, you know, I'm with you. I think,
fights.
I mean, yeah.
Styles make fights, you know, where, you know, somebody who's a slow plodding jabber can, you know, beat the knockout artist, the flashy knockout artist, because it's death by 1,000 cuts, you know,
Yeah.
and at the same time, if you have two people, you know, two fighters who are both knockout artists go at it, yeah, it's gonna be really exciting for about the first 3 rounds, but somebody's gonna end up on the floor and it may be a shock. And I think Senegal and the U.S. men's national team would have had that because they have the horses to keep up.
Yeah.
And in a freak moment, put the ball in the back of the net. So yeah, I think this is a dream matchup if you are the U.S. men's national team.
And also, and not to like hedge this too much, you know, it is. And this will be my parting thoughts.
Okay.
This team has not overperformed. They've performed to, I think, justifiable expectations.
They've performed.
But I think the performances have all been good.
Mm-hmm.
You know? So that's we got a yellow card here for
we have
Australia.
Apparently we have a Tunisia golazo.
Oh.
I'm not going to call it a golazo. I'm going to say it's a really good goal. I'm not going to say it's a golazo, but France is
they're down.
You know,
France
is being France.
Milos Degenek got the yellow for Australia in a game that they kind of need to not lose.
And here's the thing about France is that without Mikey Magnon in goal, you know, that's it.
Yeah. So the way that Group D was coming into today, France qualified. If Australia wins, they would have to make up basically an 8-goal difference to get above France in the standings. France right now, for all intents and purposes, they're going to win Group D, but it's going to come down to Australia and Denmark. Denmark needs to win to get in. Australia just needs a result to keep Denmark at arm's length so they can get into the knockouts as well. 30 minutes to go, and Australia and Denmark are goalless. So Bart is out the door. You know, so France is stunned. So that's it for Bart. We'll try to get Bart back on Friday because that'll be leading into the match. And Nick on the Saturday with the United States, that's a 10 o'clock start. Then you have the SEC championship game later that afternoon.
Freedom.
Exactly. So it's a full day of college football after the United States at 10 o'clock. So let's see. Today's Wednesday, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
You know what that means.
Well, it's a Wall Pass Wednesday is what it means. And then that means tomorrow is Thursday, which means it's a power hour. And so we go from 9 to 10 and we do the sprint because there's some news that we didn't get into today that we probably should get into tomorrow. And it's player possible movement out of Seattle.
Ooh.
Folks are wanting DP statuses, and it looks like not all of them players is going to be getting DP statuses, which could mean that some folks might be made available at a certain position group. Just saying. So we'll get into that. So 9:05 tomorrow. Nick, as always, Nick has the golden ticket as one of the hosts on the network, so he can crash whenever he darn well pleases. And so we're going to watch the other 30 minutes of the first matches. Before we go, we got the matches at 2:00. And that is Poland, Argentina, Saudi Arabia, Mexico. Poland is a decided dog at a plus 750. Argentina is a minus 222. Mexico and Saudi Arabia could be the last match for El Tata with El Tri, sir, in Group C, which is madness right now.
Give me Saudi Arabia over Mexico. Give me Poland and a shocker over Argentina.
Wow. So you got Poland and Saudi Arabia advancing out of Group C.
Yep.
Wow. All right. So we will hold you to it. We'll talk about it tomorrow on the Power Hour. So he's Nick. He's the Garlic Bread Warlord. So you got to keep an eye on him on the Twitters. And it looks like Australia has scored. They just scored with 30 minutes to go. So Australia, they hang on to this lead. We'll see how many passes it took. 2 passes to get out of trouble. Onside. And a long run. Oh, this is gorgeous. Lecky in the 61st gets in and around and past the keeper. Wow. Past Schmeichel. So that's past Schmeichel, and Leckie scores. Australia leads 1-0 with 30 to go. So Nick,
remember, it's the soccer ruse, not the football ruse.
Yes, you just said soccer. So there we go. Right. All right. So we'll be back at it again tomorrow morning, 9:05. He's Nick. I'm John. Play it safe, everybody. Mucha platial. And since it is the end of the show, that means we get to do this. We'll catch up with you tomorrow.